you should use some really basic math to help you do more DPS, to recruit more people, and make other complex decisions where if you just try to trust your gut, you're probably not going to go the right way. The times where you should trust your gut is if something bugs the hell out of you, you should probably find a way to not have to do it. But other than stuff like that, you really shouldn't just trust your gut. When you just want to make the right decision and you don't really care about the methodology, using a little bit of numbers really helps. So I want to talk about how I've done that with my YouTube channel really recently, and how if I just tried to use my gut, I might think that I've really fucked my channel up. So I looked at some statistics for 30-day windows of viewer behavior over the past 5 months. And basically what I found is when I was making more mass market videos, I was getting a lot more reach on YouTube, which makes sense. There's a much higher chance that a cold audience member would be interested in some very targeted warrior video about like Glad Stance or Shield Slam, something like that, or the log analysis videos that I used to do an absolute fuckload of. But I thought that making those videos over and over again, they're all kind of the same, and I don't feel like it's actually a very good use of a committed audience member's time. So I wanted to instead move towards more of this talking head type stuff, and then also maybe some story-based videos. But I had to commit to doing that for a while so that way I could actually get some data and see how it was going to work. At first glance, this is something I was able to basically find. I get like 4 or 5 times less views in a time period now as I did before. And so that could very easily make somebody think that this was a terrible idea. Also, I'm getting a lot less first-time audience members. So that's also a problem. You could think the channel's growing slower. Not good. But what's actually going on after I checked out all the numbers was basically it used to be that 10 people would see one of my videos and 2 of them would become a returning viewer. So maybe I should say 5 people would see one of my videos, 1 of them would become a returning viewer. Now, even though I'm getting way less new people, it's like 2 people see one of my videos and 1 of them becomes a returning viewer. And of the one that didn't become a returning viewer, there's a very high chance in the future that they will be one. Now, what about the watch time? The watch time is about doubled. Okay, that's also interesting. What's another thing I'm noticing? The probability that a returning viewer clicks a new video of mine is going up, and it's accelerating. Okay, so that's also pretty cool. So in the short term, switching what I was doing really instantaneously tanked my views. But it did also pretty instantaneously up the amount of view time from my committed audience members. And since I committed to having tanked views for a bit, I was then able to find out that as I make more and more videos that are kind of abstract and about ideas, it's accelerating the rate that somebody wants to click on all my shit. But I probably never would have came to that conclusion if I wasn't just committed to making videos that I like more for a couple months and seeing if it would absolutely like fuck my channel. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to make decisions like that. And you should make decisions like that with your guild. And if you're speedrunning, I think with your gameplay, there's good opportunities for that too. If you're parsing, it's going with the meta and making less decisions is usually probably for the best. So let's talk about for your guild and how we could relate that to my experience with the YouTube stuff. Since I was committed to screwing up my channel for a couple months to learn something, I got to learn that I wasn't screwing up my channel, and I can keep making videos this way. Okay, for your guild stuff, what should you do? Stop, in my opinion, if this is the way you rely on recruiting, is that, oh, I only need to pug 5 people to fill the guild's run each week. I'll do that, and I'll hit up some of those pugs and see which of them want to join the guild. Super low probability that those people are going to join your guild, because there's a few things that are kind of going against you. Like, 1, they're already not in a guild that they raid with. That's not a great sign. They want to raid with, they're okay with raiding with people they don't know all that well and joining a run 20 or 30 minutes before it's set to actually launch. And somehow they've ended up in this position where they go to pugs. I think that these things are all kind of working against you when it comes to recruiting these people. You're going to recruit maybe not the most awesome people if you're doing this. I mean, granted, you can see what their experience is, but if you only want to message the really good pugs to join your guild, how long are you going to be pugging people if this is your only recruitment method? And there's huge scatter on the data. You know, they're individuals. There's not a lot of them. Are you going to really be sure what kind of stuff makes them want to stick around? Are you going to ever find out if maybe there's a guy in your guild who, for example, yells a little too much, and maybe that's the reason people don't want to stick around? Because that's the only thing they really remember from the run is some random guy yelling, even if everything else went good? Or maybe would you know that people continue to come back to your runs because they like the way your voice sounds? Who knows? I don't think you're going to get great data on what does and doesn't work for you if this is your recruitment strategy. And if you one day manage to fill your guild recruiting this way, you will have no certainty on how quickly you could replace somebody if they were doing things that were bad for your organization. What if instead you did something like this? You message 50 strangers a day who are ungilded, asking them if they're looking for a guild, if they're looking to raid on a schedule, maybe try to move the conversation to what their schedule is like, learn a little bit about them, and then ask them, hey, would you want to join the guild, and tell them about yourself and the guild. This is actually not very time consuming because if you hit up 50 people, you're going to have 40 of them that are going to say no thank you or not respond, and then you're going to have 10 of them that will maybe engage with you, and most of those people are just trying to be polite, and they're going to try to end the conversation right away. They'll be short with you, but they want to, they want to be polite, and then you'll be able to know, oh, okay, I'm wasting my time with this person. I should say have a nice day. And you'll have 1 or 2 out of those 50 that will actually be in the process of looking for a guild and looking to raid at a certain time, and will probably want to talk to you a little bit because damn, you just hit them at the perfect time. Isn't that crazy? It's serendipitous. It's like it's meant to be. And this will actually happen. If you hit up a lot of people, you'll hit up people where you message them in a time in their life where it feels to them like it's fucking meant to be. This is a huge part of sales. Have you ever gotten a phone call and you're like, how the fuck would anybody ever buy blah blah off a telemarketer? Hey, that telemarketer, if they call 100 people a day, somebody was actually thinking about that service or the problem the guy's calling about. It will work out. Now, if you did this for 50 days, let's say it goes poorly. Not 50 days, 30 days. You message 50 people who are ungilded a day for 30 days. 1,500 messages. If it went poorly at the end of this, maybe you recruit 5 people who join your guild. Okay. That'd be a little shitty. Only 5 people. It's like you're recruiting 1 person a week. But that's probably a lot better recruitment than you're currently doing. And what else would you know? Okay, so if I message like 375 people in a weekend, I can recruit somebody. Huh. Maybe Blizzard doesn't let you whisper that many people. If I and 3 of my guildies all use the same one-liner to begin conversations with people, maybe we could message 1,500 people in 2 days and recruit 4 guildies. What would that give you? This would give you a belief that people who are a problem for your guild socially and performance-wise are replaceable, and that you can actually prioritize your vision for what your guild should be like. And you'd be able to use this as a tool to make sure that over time your guild becomes more tight-knit and better at accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish. Instead of always feeling like you're at the mercy of your roster, you'd feel like the roster is just this system that you can fix. And this is going to sound a little bit bad. It'd feel like if you had an aquarium and some of your fish died, you could replace them. It wouldn't feel like, oh, the aquarium's fucked, which is a feeling people have with their guild. They're like, well, I can't run off the 2 people who are assholes because how would I replace them? If you had this belief that you could just send 400 messages and get somebody, you'd probably think, I'd rather send 400 messages, get ignored 350 times, have 45 shitty conversations, 5 good conversations, and recruit 1 nice guy than have this fucking asshole in my raid every week, shitting the place up, being rude to people, making us wipe, whatever. It could actually change your fucking life. It could make the game feel so much better. And you could apply this to your gameplay also in the game. The way I did that before for myself was I had this idea at level 60 way back in the day, like 2019. I was thinking, all right, if there's 1 mob to hit, only 1, and I do a heroic strike versus a cleave, I hit like 100 harder because heroic strike has higher base damage. It also costs less rage, but let's ignore the rage. It's not a huge deal. Let's say that you miss out on 100 damage if you cleave 1 target as opposed to heroic striking it. how much damage do you miss out on if you heroic strike one target instead of cleaving two? It's like, I don't know, maybe like 1,000 damage? Huh. So an incorrect heroic strike is 10 times more damaging to your damage profile than an incorrect cleave. I had this idea and I was like, man, how often am I messing this up? If I only cleaved in a raid, would I do more damage than if I did cleave and heroic strike? How often do I miscalculate the range on cleave? Because it's actually quite big. And so I did an experiment. I committed myself to only using cleave for a lot of raids in a row. And my damage and speed runs went up. It went up. Using no heroic strikes. I would cleave. Like, I'd be main tanking a boss and I'd be cleaving that boss. I was super committed to this. I was like, I need to fucking figure this out once and for all. And the only way I can really do that is if I just use no decision making criteria. I exclusively fucking cleave. And then I'll have a bunch of logs and I can just see what's my performance like. And then at the end of that, I just knew if there is even the slightest possibility I can hit multiple mobs, I gotta cleave every time. And I was just only heroic striking on bosses. Trash, cleave every time unless it's a solo mob pack. But a lot of people, they're not going to commit themselves to doing things like that, and so they won't make these discoveries about their own gameplay. Now, I bet the best players in the world, they're going to just actually get the heroic strike cleave thing right so often that when they do mess up, it's still going to be worth it. But even for people in really good guilds that are really good players, goofy ass shit can give you an advantage, and you wouldn't know it unless you committed yourself to the suck for a really long time in a way where you actually get some data out of it. And so I'd like to challenge you to do some weird shit like that. If you message 50 strangers a day for this next month, you will be certain that you did 1,500 messages at the end of the month, and it'll be easy to remember how many people joined from your cold outreach. This could change everything about your guild. If you're into speedrunning and you're a warrior, maybe try the cleave thing on trash. Only ever cleave on trash. Never use heroic strike at all. See if it changes your damage. I bet it will. Do shit like this, and you're going to learn a lot.